Welcome to Energov Training Module 2, Adding New Contacts to a Permit in Energov. This module will cover how to create new contacts, like company contacts and individual contacts, and then we'll go over some tips and tricks you'll want to keep in mind when working within Energov. In Module 1, we covered how to search for and add existing contacts to a permit. You always want to search for existing contacts first before adding a new contact record to Energov in order to avoid duplicates in the system. If you've performed a search and no results are returned, or the one you want doesn't already exist in the system, you want to click Add New Contact from the bottom of the Contact Search page to take you to the New Contact form. Here, you'll want to fill in as much information as possible on this contact in the rest of the form. First, choose whether the contact is a company or not. If it's a company, check the box next to Company at the top of the screen. If it's not a company, simply click Contact. The company name should be pre-populated from your search, but you can still make changes if necessary. In this case, it is a company. As such, it doesn't have a first or last name. Only company-specific information. Save personal information for subcontacts. We'll talk more about subcontacts in Module 3. Next, choose the contact preference. This is a required field. If you select email, you must provide a company email. Again, remember to input all data on the form in all caps. If you choose an address instead of an email, then an address will be required. Whichever you choose, it will show that something is required up next to the Save button in the top right. Note, you can press F11 to expand the screen to be able to see all the fields more easily. Only after all the required information has been added can you save it. When adding a Carlsbad address, the first thing you'll want to do is search for the address because all Carlsbad addresses are already in the system. You'll want to start by adding a street number and then the street name, making sure again to use all caps in the system. Once you've done this, go ahead and click on Search. Once the address is found, simply click on the folder icon to the left of the address you're looking for in order to use it. It will auto-populate the address fields on the contact form. From here, you can select what type of address it is from the drop-down list. The main contact address should be a mailing address. You can add multiple addresses, but you should have at least one mailing address for each contact. Scroll to the bottom and check the box next to Main. The system requires at least one address to be marked as main for each contact. Mailing address should be that address. If the address for the contact is outside the city of Carlsbad, you don't search, you add the address. From the contact screen, click on Add Address at the bottom to bring up a new address form. This form uses address validation tools. Once you start typing the address in, again using all caps, it should autofill and give you a drop-down of options available. Depending on the speed of your connection, you may want to wait just a moment in order for this to populate. From the list of options, select the correct address and it will autofill the form. Take a moment to make sure that all the information is correctly auto-populated on the form. Once it populates all the fields, remember to scroll to the bottom and click Main if this address is the primary address for this contact. Once you've added all the new contacts information, simply save the contact to add it to Energov. Then you can add it to your permit. Here are some tips and tricks to keep in mind when creating new contacts in the system. Always search for existing contacts before adding a new contact to the system to avoid duplicate entries. When adding information into Energov, always use all capital letters and don't use special characters. Especially when copying, avoid copying any extra spaces. Don't use hyphens and periods in things like LLC or in junior period. When it comes to suffixes like junior, senior, or the third, they always go at the end of the last name field. If your address includes a P.O. box, make sure the P.O. box goes in the street number field. When it comes to companies, only input business-specific information. Leave the individual contact information for contacts or subcontacts. Companies must have a mailing address on file, and the checkbox for main should be checked for that mailing address. And finally, if the individual contact you're adding is a contractor, remember to have their certifications on file, otherwise you won't be allowed to proceed. If you have any questions about Energov, feel free to contact Chris DiMarcella or Achana Chapada, or send an email to changeagent@carlsbadca.gov. This concludes Module 2. Thank you and have a great day.